Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. We're back out here with my stone fruit trees today as I'm a bit worried about them. A little while ago I noticed some fruit that weren't quite right and now I suspect it's brown rot. Today we're going to go through each of the stone fruit trees, get rid of any of the rotting fruit and discover if there's anything left to harvest. A couple of days ago I was just moving from my pasture area with my animals past my peach tree when I noticed one of the peaches was down on the ground. So I had a little bit of a peer into this tree and got very worried about what I saw. I discovered a couple of peaches on the ground, turned them over, and they kind of look like this one here. I think some rodents have been having a nibble as well because they're actually fairly ripe, but that is a fungus growing on it. And then I looked down this end of the tree where there was actually a branch of about 4 peaches that had been hanging down here, and having a look around on the ground, there was actually no sign of them at all. It was only a little while ago that I actually put the net on the tree because it was full of fruit at that time. But there's hardly anything left on it now. There's like about 6 fruit that I can see right here that might be okay, although I know at least one of them has got the rot starting to happen on it. So who knows what we'll be left with. And there's a few fruit on the tree that look a bit like that, quite mummified. I didn't know anything about brown rot until I looked at my weather app and it had a brown rot advice warning. So I had a look at that and thought, that's my problem. Now those mummified fruit reminded me of what my apricots looked like earlier in the season. These apricot trees haven't done all that well, and this is the first season they've really had apricots on them. But they did look really weird to start with, and I didn't really think too much of it, not knowing about brown rot. But I suspect that these are the trees where the fungal issue has started and it's sort of spread down the line. They've looked pretty much like this from the get-go and haven't really grown too much since I noticed they were developing this sort of scab layer. Quite a bit earlier, I put a bag over a few apricots just so that I could get to try some so the birds wouldn't get them. But just looking through my little bag, I suspect they're no good, but we'll have a look and confirm. Ooh, yeah, they're no good at all. Would you eat these ones? They do look quite manky. They're not rotting quite the same as the peach tree, but they are rotting all the same. There looks like some sort of insect or something's got in there as well. And just hiding here at the back is another apricot that I didn't cover, but again, it's not looking very appealing. So I think we're going to start with the apricot trees for the fruit to dispose of. Oh, it's a little spider that's lived in there. Now, brown rot is actually a fungal disease that overwinters in mummified fruit. It's kind of like this or the peaches that we saw, and that can be on the tree or on the ground. And it also infects twigs as well. The fungus infects blossoms in spring and then grows back into the small branches to cause cankers that can kill stems. Water from rain, dew or watering on the flower surface can cause the spores to germinate and they can quickly penetrate the plant. Damp, humid conditions causes fast spread of the disease. Spores from a diseased tree can be carried by the wind or insects to blossoms, whether they're opened or unopened, or young shoots on other trees. Treatment for the disease is to pick up any of the fallen fruit, dispose of it, and also trim out any of the infected parts of the plant. Now, I don't know how to identify that at this point, but I will be doing some research and giving the tree a good prune back and disposing of those branches, maybe in my compost. And with the fruit that's on here at the moment, I will be harvesting what I can. If the fruit's only affected on one side, I'll cut off the good side and keep that, and that might be okay to kind of stew up or for jams or something. Now you can treat the trees with a copper fungicide or a sulphur one. Ugh, it's pretty manky. Although I have heard that one organic farmer used it and he was still fairly disappointed with getting brown rot the next damp, humid summer. So I'm just going to wait and see and leave it to the weather. This summer's been very wet. We had 40 mil of rain 2 days ago and then another 27 yesterday. And now it's warm again today. So it's just going to be really humid. So maybe I just get peaches in dry summers. That is pretty manky. You can see just here little peach kernels from some peaches that I didn't even know had fallen off the tree. Oh, yuck. I'll be washing my little bag really well in some hot water and some detergent. And now for the fruit on the tree. Now that side is pretty manky, but the other side's actually quite firm still, though it feels right. So I'll take that to the kitchen and decide what to do. That's pretty good. Some signs that can be cut out. Someone's gotten in there. That doesn't look too bad otherwise. I will be taking these and giving them a wash before cutting out what I can use. And I've also just putting it in a bucket rather than my wicker basket so that I can wash that in hot water as well. And we've got the one over here. And that's my fruit off one tree. And now, to make sure it doesn't spread, I've just got to get all these sort of mummified fruit off the tree and dispose of that. Horrible. Now I have noticed these little spots here. So whether that's an insect or part of this brown rot and canker formation, I'm not too sure. That's what I'm going to have to research a little bit more. And just on that branch there too, you can see the same thing happening. Now we'll just have a quick look at this tree over here. Now it didn't have much in the way of fruit on it, so I haven't netted it. It does have a couple of fruit on it, but it did have a bit of an issue, which I showed you, and I wasn't sure about it. And again, I'm still not sure whether it's this brown rot, but it's got quite a lot of issues on all its branches. Now this is the tree that was virtually nude last year because all its leaves fell off with curly leaf. And while it's still got a few leaves affected, most of them are looking lovely. But you can see here, that branch is really affected by something and is just dripping out all of this sap. And having a look at a few spots on the tree, there are various areas also affected. This branch in particular has got all sorts of things going on with it. Who knows, maybe that's a mummified fruit there, and that I'll need to kind of get all of that off. Again, in here, you can see just here and through here and over here. So yeah, I'll be doing lots of research and maybe have to give these trees another good trim back to see if we can make them productive. That branch does not look healthy at all, and this one is in the same situation. I'd held out a lot of hopes that this tree was on the mend from last year's illness, but it looks like there's something really systemic going on with it, and I don't know whether it's going to prove to be fatal for this tree or whether some just severe pruning will kind of get on top of it for it, but it looks like it's just rife right throughout the tree. So it's got 4 fruit on it. I'm just going to remove those now. Yeah, they're not looking right. And now to my second peach tree, which was really productive a couple of years ago, and I have a harvest video, so check out that one because this one won't be as good. And it was a lot drier back then. It was warm and dry rather than warm and wet. So the conditions were certainly different. I can see one rotting fruit up here. Let's get this open and see what else we can find. First glance beneath the netting, I can see some fruit on the ground, so we'll be having to pick those up. But this tree is looking heaps better than the other tree. Lots of fruit, still looking pretty good, and not quite rotting as yet. So I think we've got them just in time. Actually, I'm going to keep these fruits separate. I'll just pop them out on the netting for the moment from the other tree, and I'll reserve this bucket for all of this what looks from here to be gorgeous looking fruit. But there's also some that's not so gorgeous looking. So definitely time to move all of this fruit out of here. Smells beautiful. That one looks and smells just like a peach should look. Some of them have signs of issue, but that should cut out of those. I've got to deal with these today actually. This one is a bit yucky. Well, look at that. I did not expect an overflowing bucket from this tree, but that's what it's given me. There's still a few left on the tree, but I'm going to have to get another bucket to get those. And I did collect quite a bit of rotting fruit, but that's to be expected. I'm just glad that I got to it before all of it was ruined. And after I get the rest of the fruit, I'll take it all to the kitchen, cut out the bits that aren't suitable, and I'll probably chop it up and just freeze it for the moment, but likely it's going to be turning into a lovely stew, jam or chutney. But before I gather the rest of these peaches and take it all to the kitchen, I thought I'd show you my other stone fruit, the nectarines and the plums. Now also on my top swale is my nectarine tree, which doesn't look too bad in terms of brown rot. Now it has had some fruit damage by birds and also from earwigs, but there's no signs of the rot at this point. I haven't covered this tree over, I'm just letting it take its chances. But hopefully it doesn't get affected at this point before they ripen. But it shouldn't be too long before these fruits hopefully ripen. Now we're here on my roadside swale with my Satsuma plum tree, which is loaded with fruit. And from first glance through the netting, there doesn't seem to be any brown rot. So we'll just open up the netting, have a look, just double check, but hopefully I'll be able to leave this to finish ripening on the tree. Now I have washed my hands and my boots, so hopefully that I'm not transferring anything around. Now while there might be signs of rodent damage, there's not too much of that happening. Most of the fruit are unblemished and looking pretty beautiful. Hopefully there'll be no spread from my topsoil, and well, I'll deal with those infected trees and do my research and hopefully contain it. There is a sign of the cherry slug just here, so I'll just squash that one, but there's not too much of that going on either. Well, it's disappointing to lose the fruit off one of the trees that was looking quite good. At least my other peach tree gave plenty of fruit that I can use, and this plum tree is still going well. But it does give me the answers to why my apricot trees are no good. Early on, they did start to get that oozy sap look about them, like I showed you on one of the peach trees, but I didn't think anything of it. I didn't investigate, and perhaps I should have. So maybe those apricot trees need to come down. I will be doing further investigation and seeing if there's any hope for bringing them back. I really don't want to use sprays. I would rather find a resistant tree and replace them because they haven't been that great anyway. So I'll certainly be doing homework and keeping you up to date on what I plan to do with those trees. Well, I'm going to go and finish off my peach harvest and get those peaches to the kitchen for processing. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.